Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take some really compelling information, maybe complex stuff, and we try to pull out the most important insights for you.
Yeah, the surprising bits, the things that make you go, huh.
Exactly. And today, well, we're plunging into a truly wild internet mystery. Seriously, this thing captivated millions for a time.
Oh, I remember this one. It's got everything, right? Isolation, maybe time travel, an entire city just empty.
Right, an abandoned city. It sounds like fiction, but it played out online.
We are talking about a TikTok phenomenon known as the lone survivor, or in Spanish, he was El Solitario.
Which literally translates to the lone survivor. Very fitting.
Mhm.
And his claim was just huge. This guy pops up on TikTok saying he's stuck alone in the year 2027.
Yeah, not just anywhere, but specifically in Valencia, Spain.
Yeah.
A big, vibrant city.
Imagine that for a second. Valencia, usually packed with people, totally silent, just you. It's a powerful image.
It really is. So our mission today basically is to unpack this whole story.
Yep. We're going to look at the evidence he showed everyone.
And then we got to get critical, right?
And why?
Look closely at the details. Does this story actually hold water?
Because it's a fascinating story, no doubt. But maybe the truth behind it is even more interesting. Tells us something about, today.
For sure. And we're leaning heavily on a really great analysis for this from the YouTube channel Deuces Real.
Right. They did a video called Nguyen Ongmakket Nems 2027.
Which just means the man stuck in 2027.
Yeah.
And they did some proper digging, found some really subtle clues.
Yeah, fantastic work. It gives us a solid base to explore, not just, the hoax itself.
But how something so seemingly impossible gets so much traction, how it feels believable, even for a little while.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where did it all begin?
It kicked off February 13th, 2021. That's when the first video from El Solitario appeared on TikTok.
And the story he told right away was, well, it grabs you. He said he woke up in a hospital.
Yeah, totally confused, didn't remember how he got there, what happened, woke up.
But the real kicker was when he went outside and realized nobody. The entire city of Valencia empty. He was the only person left.
Chilling stuff. And he's claiming this is happening 6 years in the future, 2027. No idea how he got there. Just stuck.
That mystery, that total aloneness, it's something anyone can kind of connect with, that feeling.
Definitely. But what made it really take off, what made people think, hang on maybe, was the stuff he started posting, the evidence.
Right, the videos. He posted a whole series of them.
Yeah.
And crucially, often responding to requests from people watching.
That was key. People would say, go here, show us this place.
And he'd show videos of him in these normally packed public spaces. Think like Valencia's airport, a school, a museum. All completely eerily empty.
No staff, no tourists, no students, just wandering through these huge silent buildings.
And because he was responding to challenges, it felt more authentic, didn't it? Like he wasn't just showing pre-recorded stuff.
Exactly. That interaction was genius, really. It made viewers feel like they were part of it, investigating alongside him. Build this weird kind of trust.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, for me anyway. He did this treasure hunt thing.
Yeah, the treasure hunt. That was clever.
He'd hide things,
Yep.
like small objects, in specific public spots around Valencia.
Then he'd post the exact coordinates on TikTok.
And people in 2021 would go to those coordinates.
And find the stuff. They'd find the objects he supposedly hid in 2027.
Mind blown, right? Think about that. Objects seemingly jumping from his 2027 to our 2021. How do you even process that?
It's a very smart trick. It creates this physical link. It's not just videos anymore. It's something tangible, something people in the present could verify themselves.
It felt like proof, real physical proof you could, hold in your hand.
For a lot of viewers, seeing that or seeing others find the items, that was it. That made it seem real.
So based on these treasure hunts working, he basically said, see, there's a definite link, a connection between 2021 and 2027.
And you can see why people bought into it. The effort involved, the interactivity, the seeming impossibility of it all.
Yeah, it was just so intriguing. It felt like a modern urban legend unfolding right there on our phones. Almost believable,
It really tapped into something. It shows how well he built that initial story, used the platform. But, okay, now we need to put on the skeptic hats.
Right. As cool as it sounds, is any of this actually plausible?
If we step back and look at how information works, how easily we can be swayed by a good story, well, the cracks start to show pretty quickly.
So let's start pulling at those threads. First big thing, the empty city. How do you get Valencia completely deserted on camera?
Well, the obvious technical answer is video editing. Sophisticated software can remove people from footage. It's painstaking work, though.
Yeah, removing everyone from city footage, especially if you're responding to requests quickly, that seems like a crazy amount of work for one guy. Almost impossible.
It does sound incredibly labor-intensive, but here's the crucial bit of context: the timing.
When the videos were posted.
Exactly. This was all happening in early 2021, and what was going on everywhere in early 2021.
COVID-19. Lockdowns.
Bingo. Valencia specifically had really strict lockdown measures at that time, which meant
Way fewer people out on the streets to begin with.
precisely capturing genuinely empty streets or streets with very few people was much, much easier during that specific period.
So maybe he didn't even need to do much editing sometimes. Or the editing job was way simpler.
Could be. It cleverly uses our own recent memories of lockdowns, those empty public spaces we all saw, and makes his future feel uncannily familiar. Like, oh yeah, I remember it being that quiet.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's kind of using a real-world situation to sell the fantasy. Very smart. But what about the treasure hunt? That still feels like the linchpin. Objects appearing across time. How do you explain that away? If I go find the thing he hid, that feels solid.
Right. This is where the logic really breaks down, though.
Yeah.
Even if you accept some kind of sci-fi premise, it raises, well, fundamental questions about time and physics. Think about it. If he hides an object in 2027, and it just appears in 2021 for someone to find, what does that actually imply?
Magic. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Or it implies causality is completely broken. Why can we watch his videos from 2027 in 2021 if an object can just materialize like that?
Then anything he did in 2027 should instantly change 2021. Like if he painted a wall, it would suddenly be painted for us.
Exactly. Or if he picked up a coin in 2027, would it vanish from 2021? It makes no logical sense. The whole framework collapses.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't track at all.
Some people try to argue, oh, maybe it's not the future, it's another dimension.
But that doesn't fix it, does it?
Not really. How do objects just hop dimensions because you hide them? The source we looked at, Real, had a great analogy.
What was it?
It's like he throws some trash on the street in his dimension or time, and suddenly identical trash just pops into existence out of nowhere in 2021. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds kind of ridiculous. So the treasure hunt wasn't proof of time travel, it was just...
a clever distraction. A way to make you feel involved, make it seem real and tangible without having any actual logical basis. Misdirection.
Okay, so the empty streets have an explanation. The treasure hunt logic is flawed. What else starts to unravel this?
Well, then we get to maybe the biggest piece of evidence that this wasn't what it seemed. The identity or identities of the lone survivor himself.
Yeah, I always thought it was weird he never showed his face. Always a mask or filmed from behind, even when he was supposedly desperate for help.
Right. If you're truly trapped and alone, wouldn't you want someone, anyone, to recognize you, to help you connect with your past?
You'd think so. Total anonymity seems counterintuitive if you're genuinely in trouble.
That was definitely a red flag.
Yeah.
But the really critical thing that Real analysis pointed out was something subtle. His hands.
His hands, what about them?
They look different in different videos.
Wait, really? How different?
Like, noticeably different. Sometimes smooth, sometimes kind of plump, sometimes quite hairy. And in a few clips, the source even described them as looking like, quote, a girl's hand.
Whoa. Okay. Different handses. That's huge. So this wasn't one guy. This couldn't have been just one lone survivor.
It strongly, strongly suggests it wasn't a solitary individual at all. It points to multiple people being involved. A coordinated team effort.
A team. Okay, now that explains other things too.
Like what?
Like how he got into all those places that should have been locked up tight. Schools, museums, the airport. You always wondered, how did he get access?
Exactly. If you have multiple people on the team.
Then maybe one works security at the airport. Maybe another is a cleaner at the museum. Or a teacher with keys to the school.
Precisely. Different people involved could have legitimate access to different locations.
Yeah.
Especially during off hours or lockdowns.
So they could film in these genuinely empty, restricted areas easily, legally, without raising any alarms.
It becomes simple logistics rather than sci-fi mystery. It's a network using their real-world access to build this fictional narrative.
Wow. Okay, that kind of ties it all together, doesn't it? It wasn't one person, it was a group effort using the pandemic, clever editing maybe, misdirection, and their actual jobs to create this illusion.
It seems like the most logical and evidence-based explanation, yeah. Shows some incredible planning and creativity, actually.
So the big picture then, what does this all mean for the lone survivor? This epic story of being lost in 2027.
It means the story well, super entertaining, brilliantly executed in many ways.
Yeah.
It's almost certainly a fabrication, a very sophisticated one,
And the magic trick is revealed.
pretty much. And it's interesting, the Deucestrial narrator, even while debunking it, talked about the appeal, why we want to believe these things sometimes.
Yeah. What did they say?
They described it as almost a shared dream, the fantasy of being the last person on Earth, a world wiped clean, quiet. There's something strangely appealing about that idea for some people.
I get that. That feeling it's potent. Seriously, just imagine for a second. You wake up tomorrow, look out your window, silence. No cars, no people. You run downstairs, call out for your family, nothing. Because nobody else is there, just you.
It's terrifying, but also strangely fascinating.
Totally. You could base an amazing Netflix show on just that premise.
Yeah.
Keep you hooked. It taps into something really deep about isolation, survival, maybe even freedom in a weird way.
For sure. But okay, stepping back from the fantasy, what was the real point of creating this whole elaborate TikTok channel? If it wasn't real time travel,
Then what was it?
the most plausible theory, it was probably a highly sophisticated advertising campaign.
Advertising. For what? Like a movie or a game?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But more likely,
Tourism.
tourism, you mean, for Spain, for Valencia.
Think about it. Instead of a normal ad campaign showing sunny beaches.
They created this global mystery that made millions of people intensely focus on Valencia. They talked about Valencia, looked up Valencia, felt emotionally connected to this story happening in Valencia. Exactly. It's genius marketing, in a way. In today's world, getting that kind of sustained attention and emotional engagement, that's incredibly valuable, far more powerful than a simple ad. It's like viral experiential marketing.
And it's not like this is the first time something like this has happened, right? Didn't the source mention another big campaign?
Yeah, they drew a parallel to something called the Dismine campaign.
What was that?
Apparently, it was an even bigger promotional effort, super elaborate, building hype for a movie that never actually got released.
Seriously. So the campaign existed, got people buzzing, but the product, poof.
Yep. It just shows how complex and effective these viral marketing schemes can be. They play on our curiosity, our desire for a good story. Sometimes the story is the product, almost, and our critical thinking can get a bit fuzzy when we're caught up in the spectacle.
That really is a powerful takeaway from this whole lone survivor saga, isn't it?
I think so.
It's a masterclass in narrative power, how a really compelling story can just hook you, make you question things. And it really highlights why we need those critical thinking skills, especially now with so much information flying around.
It's not just about spotting a hoax. It's understanding how these things work, how they leverage platforms, current events like the pandemic, our own psychology. It shows how sophisticated viral content and, marketing have become.
Yeah. And even when it's debunked, you still kind of appreciate the craft, maybe. But more importantly, you see why it worked.
Right. And that appeal, the fact that so many people wanted it to be real, tells us a lot about ourselves, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Our fascination with the unknown, the what if.
Absolutely. The story itself might be fake, but the reaction to it was very real. How it became this shared global thing that's fascinating in itself.
It's less about what happened and more about how this fabricated narrative resonated so deeply.
So, maybe the final thought for you, listening. As you're scrolling through your feeds tomorrow, maybe pause on the next big viral thing. Ask yourself, what's the story really saying? And what might be hiding just beneath the surface? What other mysteries are out there waiting to be unpacked?
Definitely something to think about.